Hey, how's it going? My name's Davina. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm vlogging on, we are at the Frontier Museum in Staunton, Virginia. And what we're looking at right now is a West African village in 1700s, what it looks like, and how when they brought the slaves, well, they made them slaves, unfortunately. That was a very devastating thing to do, is to hold people slaves. I don't agree with it, but we're looking at history here, so let's not be too let's not try to cancel out everything in history, because we have to learn from that stuff, you know. That's how I feel. I don't feel like we should forget what happened so that it doesn't repeat, you know. Anyway, so this is really interesting. Look at that. This is what it would have looked like here. You see the pottery and the roof. That's really cool. So yeah, 1700s. That's what it would have looked like when they brought over the African people from West Nigeria, and they built it looks like a mud hut.
Broke. So the sad thing is I have to now get this to slide all the way to the bottom. But you don't want to make it too thin, because it's just going to break. So you just have to
You're peeling the bark off, and that's how you do it?
Pardon?
You're peeling the bark off?
Yep. So what I have here, this is called a Shaven Horse, and the knife I have is called the draw knife, and then it's just, and this is like a vise, so it's holding it in place. So I can just take off the parts that I need. This is going to be great for starting fires too. So they're going to be very happy inside the house. And this is a job that you would do on a Sunday, because this would not be considered work. You know, even though it is work, you know, they're considering work, working in the gardens, working in the fields, doing hard physical labor. This is just doing maintenance work.
Yeah. Wow.
Keep the farm running and such. But you guys are all in England. This is a real building from England, built in 1631, and it was moved here in 1992, 1993.
Oh, nice.
This in 4 rooms, so it's a 10-room farmhouse, or it should be a 10-room farmhouse. We have 6 rooms, and it is a home of a farmer who's doing pretty well.
Okay.
And when you see the furniture inside, you'll get a good sense that this is a farmer doing well. We're showing it in the 1650s, and that's the time when the majority of English people are leaving in the 17th century.
Okay. All right. Can you tell us about your hot cross buns?
Okay, well, those are our hot cross buns. Making hot cross buns in England dates back to the Middle Ages. They're supposed to have very powerful protection qualities, as well as healing properties. And so you would want to be sure that on Good Friday you made enough to provide for your family and to have enough that are left over. They would be stored in some type of crock or vessel near the hearth, and that's supposed to protect the household from fire. Later on in the year, if you had family members that were extremely sick and nothing seems to help, then you might get an old moldy hot cross bun left over from Easter and feed it to that sick person. Now, sometimes that might have helped, and of course there are no guarantees, but we know that there is a type of mold that can grow on bread that secretes penicillin. They don't know that. And of course there are many different kinds of mold, but it could very well be that some of those people might have been getting penicillin in that moldy bread.
That's
and it was but there's no guarantee, if you try it today, that you'll actually get the right mold. But definitely that might have attributed to some of the healing powers that the hot cross bun would have.
We are on our way to an authentic Irish home here at Frontier, this Frontier Village. And we stopped by the water. It's really peaceful and serene to be out with nature, the trees today. It's beautiful.
A couple of these little trivets to sort of set those irons on because we're getting ready to build a tailoring shop.
Okay.
So we had a couple requests for some different bits of hardware, and I'm trying to sort of get those orders out right now.
Okay, so you're working on
But is this
trivets.
your first time visiting?
Yes.
Okay, well, just to give you a little sort of background on where we are right now, this is our Irish forge. So typically, any other year, minus last year, we would actually be inside the shop doing this sort of work.
Oh, okay.
So this is where we make a lot of our hardware, a lot of our tools for every single farm here. So we make things from sort of a West African style, English, German, Irish, as well as a lot of American styles from the 1800s. So we make a little bit of everything here. In fact, all of these are examples of pieces that have been made right here.
Oh, wow.
But typically we are inside the shop here to my right, which is originally from Northern Ireland. This building's around 220 years old, give or take a couple of years. And originally it was located in Ireland. Now, where it was located, it was part of a little tiny farming community. We're talking maybe no more than 300 people.
Oh,
And a
wow.
blacksmith shop this size probably would have had a family working here, probably around 3 or 4 people at a time. The men and women in the shop were spending their time sort of split between here as well as their farm next door. So it would have been a lot of work to do, but more than half of the business was primarily just going to be fixing things for people. If you needed any sort of tools or implements repaired, you would bring them here instead of usually purchasing a new one or commissioning to have a new one made.
So they whitewashed the walls recently from lime, a lime powder. And the reason they did this was because if they didn't, it would be so dark in here. Look at the window, it's so tiny. They've only got like a few windows inside of this Irish cottage. Ah, nice. Oh, look at what they've written. About 100,000 Irish immigrants came to America in the early 1700s. In case you didn't know. Oh wow, look at that. They would have made clothing with that spinning wheel and the cotton right there.
It really helps to brighten up indoor spaces. So if you go in there, you see there's not a lot of natural light. So having the whitewash really helps bring out what little natural light there is in that space. If you've ever been in a historic structure that isn't whitewashed, they can just be super dungeon-like dark. So whitewash helps.
Digital thing at this point in time. It's in general something that is sort of a unified thing, but sort of not. Germany is just 100 different nation states at this point in time. But in theory, the title of Holy Roman Emperor would have been bestowed, or should have been bestowed by the Pope. Not always the case, but it's giving general control or say over the region more broadly. And the Holy Roman Empire sort of fluctuates in size a little bit as well.
What year was the Holy Roman Empire like impacting Germans at this time?
It's for several hundred years.
Several hundred.
It's one of those things that is around for quite a bit of time. There are a number of Holy Roman Emperors, like I think Charlemagne is technically a Holy Roman Emperor in the medieval period. Napoleon is technically a Holy Roman Emperor in the 1800s, 19th
Okay.
century. So it's a weird title. What actually encompasses the Holy Roman Empire changes a bit over time, but it's just this weird vestigial medieval thing.
So the Germans wanted to get out of there? Is that what happened and they immigrated to the Americas?
When you talk about in general, when you talk about this region of Germany, it is an area that's a little bit volatile. So as a result of that, a good number of these families, through a number of factors, you're going to think about leaving this part of Germany and going somewhere else. Most of them don't actually come to the New World. A lot of them actually go east, settle in Russia, where there's a good bit of available land. That actually probably would have been an easier journey, at least to a certain extent a cheaper journey. But there are those that are making their way to the coast, boarding ships, and coming to the New World. So abandoning really the Germanic world for the more Anglo-European world. And when you talk about the British colonies, most of them are coming into Philadelphia and then very quickly realizing there's not a whole lot of land available in Pennsylvania. So they're making their way down into the Valley of Virginia, where there is a good bit of land pretty cheap on the frontier. It's just land that's not all that safe when you talk about Virginia's frontier. But so you could, in a certain sense, look at the origins of the American dream with a lot of these people coming out of Germany as immigrants and coming and settling in the New World. But again, not all of them come here. A good number of them go to Russia instead.
Hey, are you okay? Are you alright? Are you sleeping?
Bishop, and they were not allowed to cut trees down. So the only firewood we have is what the children gather on the forest for. So it's typically small sticks, so we don't waste wood. Most of the farms you're going to see, the kitchen fireplace is a big fireplace down low. It's also for heating of space. This is not that. The heat for this farm comes from the oven in the parlor. You look around the corner, you'll see a masonry oven. It's not very exciting or romantic. And it's fed from the kitchen side. When you get to the 1820 farm, they'll probably tell you about this, but you notice that the floor plan looks very much like this floor plan. That was 1773, the original part of that house was built. And the German immigrant, who had already been in North America 20 years, still when he built that house, he built the German floor plan. So, floor kucha design, kitchen in the hallway, Stuba, which is a parlor, and Kammer, a bedchamber for grandparents.
All right, we're done touring this place here, this Frontier Museum. My daughter, she's got this cool dinosaur outfit on, doesn't want to be on camera. And anyway, so we learned a few things about history. Hope you enjoyed it. Next time you're in Staunton, Virginia, you might want to have a stop and come experience some history.